We still do 7 NUFC Matters show a week for free. But if you want to help support NUFC Matters, then there are a few ways of doing it. Hit the like button on each live broadcast and video. This helps the channel grow. Hit the subscribe button and select the all notifications bell so you don't miss a single show. If you want to help us financially, then you can join the channel using this button with the membership starting at $1.99 a month. Or you can drop us a donation in the chat using a super sticker. We're also looking for sponsors. If you'd like your brand advertised on the flyers for the show and featured during the ad break, then email john@nufcmatters.com to arrange.
A big thanks to all our sponsors, Skips and Bins. You can find them at skipsandbins.com or telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website skipsandbins.com. Easy contract free and pay-as-you-go waste collection. Big thanks to Mr. Vicky's Sauces Handmade in Cumbria. You can order them from their website, mrvickys.co.uk, or by telephoning 01768 210 102. A big thanks also to New Workwear. You can find them at newworkwear.com. They are an agile and dedicated workwear provider. Welcome back as well to United Travel. They are a UK coaches firm and they are based in the Northeast. They've got 2024 tours and you can contact them on 01670 632 460 or mobile 0791 666 4174. Email info@unitedgrouptravel.com and they've got a website which is unitedgrouptravel.com. There's no strangers on their tours, just people you haven't met yet. Big thanks to them for their sponsorship. Big thanks as well to Media Arts, and they supply all the video technology. If you want to become a member and get a cup, a pen, a membership card, and a scarf, then get your smartphone and put it over this QR code. It will take you straight to the membership pack. It's a £25 one-off fee. You can also go to NUFC Matters website and search membership pack to book today. If you want to help the channel, then subscribe to it by hitting the subscribe button. Hit the thumb up under the video to like the video and click share to share to your other social media. We're also available as a podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast providers. Don't forget, we help the food bank on this channel. If you want to do so virtually, go to nufcfansfoodbank.co.uk and make a donation today. The Alan Shearer raffle is back on. 150 tickets, £1 a ticket. Win a limited edition signed Alan Shearer ball. Enter today at nufcmatters.com.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thoughts I cannot say to you. If I don't say the words, then maybe it's not true.
Welcome along to NUFC Matters with me, Steve Rater, the Eddie Howe press conference review. And those of you who are regulars at NUFC Matters will know that we do a press conference review every time Eddie sits in front of the mic, and the club put it up on their socials, on the YouTube and on NUFC TV. A little bit later than usual this one. I was busy yesterday, but had a chance to listen to Eddie Howe's press conference this morning, and as always, managed to pick out a few things that the media don't pick up on, as well as just reminding you of what Eddie had to say about some of the major topics of conversation. And first couple of journalists who were up
asking questions. Didn't get their names, didn't recognise the voices, and one can only imagine that they're there because of the SELA Cup. Maybe they're people connected to the club, maybe they're people connected to the other clubs, who knows. The first question was from Anonymous, who said, is it good to be back at St James's Park? And he said, yeah, it's great to be back home, great to have 2 games in front of the supporters, and looking forward to it. It seems like it's been a very, very long time since we were at St James's Park. The same person then asked him about the Amazon premiere, said you were there last night. How did you find it? Only watched 2 episodes, of course. Was it good to reflect back on last season? He said it was an interesting experience. He said for him personally, you never know how you're going to be perceived. You don't know what the edit's going to be like. He said, but the fact that they only watched the first 2 episodes left him as a viewer in a down moment, and he thinks that's what it'll do to most people. He says, because obviously after 2 episodes would hit a certain period in the season. But he says overall it's good viewing. He likes it. The same questionnaire pushed him again. Good to reflect on last season. He went, yeah. He went, to be honest, when you see things, you know, like that in that context on film, he says, I've actually forgotten some of the things that happened last season. And he says, that surprised me. And it evokes a lot of emotion. It takes you back to certain periods, certain times. So yeah, he enjoyed the experience of watching the first 2 episodes at the premiere. The next question was from another journalist, asked him about any injuries. As you will already know, because it's already been covered in the news. He said, we don't have a totally fit squad. There will be a late decision on Fabian Schär's involvement over this weekend, but it's not too serious. Willock is still out and Kraft won't be involved. The next question again came from somebody anonymous, basically, asking, are these kind of games, these kind of home friendlies good for fans who generally can't get into St James's Park and can't go to the match? And he said, yeah, he said that's the beauty of the 2 games and the ladies' game, and he just hoped that the weather was going to be okay, which unfortunately today it's not. Hopefully tomorrow it might be at least a bit drier. But he wants, he wants good support. He wants people to be there to watch the games. And overall, he's just happy that other people can get into St James's Park. He was then asked again by the same anonymous questionnaire, you're playing European teams. Does this give you a taste of what's to come? He said, look, I always enjoy pre-season. I enjoy playing teams that you wouldn't necessarily play in pre-season. He says, obviously this season's been different because we've been to the summer series in America. We've played, teams that we'll be facing this season. He says, but these games, these 2 particular games, give us an opportunity to play 2 European outfits, both with European experience and both who will have different styles. He was then asked about Livramento. Is this something that is the deal done more or less? And he was saying, well, I'm slightly in the dark. Of course, you'll have seen that already, but he said, I'm slightly in the dark about this. Let's just see what happens. He was then asked about Elliot Anderson and what impact he might have in this coming season. And he just said, hopefully a big one. He reiterates what he said all summer. Hopefully a big one. He's come back fit. He's come back motivated. I've noticed that, certain aspects of his game have improved. And, overall expecting something special from him this season. Again, this question dipped back to Livramento about ACLs, asking whether an ACL was a concern these days. And he said, I don't want to talk directly about, Livramento, but, with regards to ACLs in general, it's why clubs like us do, thorough medicals. He was asked if the balance of the squad was something he was happy with, and he, has he come to a conclusion as to what team he's going to start against Aston Villa? He went, we've got games this weekend, for me personally, the 11 that will face Villa is not fixed in my mind. This is an opportunity for players essentially to, put themselves in the shop window. He was then asked about, the squad. Is it going to be difficult to manage this squad? Because of last season for starters, and also because he got a bigger squad. And he disagreed with that. He said, I don't think we've got a bigger squad. He says, I think we've got a leaner squad. We need everybody, who's part of the squad to be ready to be involved at any time. And, that's the key. So then the next question was, well, do you need more players in? And he just said, look, I said it's a leaner squad. I didn't want a negative connotation to be taken from that. Again, reiterated what everyone is feeling, and they've got to be part of the squad and ready to play at any time. He says we need to be more robust. But he says, pushing me on numbers, maybe another 2 could come in. So that was interesting that he said that. He also, again, reiterated, he says, we've got a good squad when everyone's fit, but we will get injuries, we will get suspensions, and we do need depth. He was asked about the level of excitement. He says, well, the supporter base, it's huge. He says, but from my perspective, I'm just ticking off the days. It's a busy period for me at the moment. Finally, a familiar voice, Andrew from the BBC, asked him how much will he miss Alan St. Maximin. I'm always slightly unconvinced when he answers anything about ASM, and hopefully this will be the last time we hear this, but he says he misses him, he misses managing him, he misses working with him. But I'm not being funny. If he wanted him that much, I think Newcastle United would have kept him. So for me personally, I think that's just lip service. Exciting with the new signings, said Andrew, and how are they settling in? He says, yeah, look, he said, very excited. 2 great players. They're both very different. Sandro comes from Italy. He's adapted well. He's made good friendships within the squad, and he's already at a level of training and playing, which is very high. He says, with regards to Harvey, it's you could say it was difficult because he's been at Leicester most of his life, and for him it is still a big move, but it's been an easy transition, and he basically said he's shown already that he can score goals, which is a great thing. Andrew then asked him about the start to the league season. He says, does it look tougher on paper? He said, look, is it good to play? Is it good to play these teams earlier? Because obviously we've got some big games. And he went, I'll tell you after we've played them. He says, but obviously, he says, every game in the Premier League is tough. It's difficult to be successful. But if you get off to a good start with games like that, then it can be the foundation of a good season. We know that we've got to hit our top levels right at the start. Andrew then mentioned the Amazon documentary. He just said, I watched it. I watched the first 2 episodes like you did. He said, there seemed to be a lot of airtime given to the boardroom. Did you learn anything from that? He said, I wouldn't say I learned anything from that. He says, maybe that it takes time to get things done, as in transfers. People think the transfer is an easy thing to do, but it's actually quite a long, drawn-out process. Andrew also mentioned that Amanda seemed to get more airtime than him, and he says, well, Amanda can take the airtime off me, that's fine, which people found quite amusing. Andrew then asked him, would he say yes to a Series 2? He was quite coy on that, and he basically just said, look, personally, it's not what I'd encourage. I want to be low-key and keep things under wraps. This season we went with it, but, we will just wait and see. Andrew then mentioned the membership scheme story, which has dominated headlines this week, where the club came out and obviously did a U-turn on parts of their membership scheme that they'd released. And Eddie just said, look, it's great, the speed of the club's response, the fact that they responded quickly to an issue, within 24 hours. So he just praised the clubs for that. Next up was a journalist from Malta, basically asking him, Fiorentina, Villarreal, what are you expecting? And he just simply said, we're expecting tough opposition. Fiorentina got to the final of the Europa League. So, he says these are the kind of teams you want to play before the start of the season. And the journalist from Malta then asked, is it important to play friendlies in Europe? You've been to America. Obviously we know why you go across there, but lots of teams seem to be doing that. But how important is it to play friendlies in Europe and obviously back home? He said, ideally, having a mixture. He says, I enjoyed the summer series. It was great to see the Newcastle United fans there, some who lived out there and who are new fans, some who travelled over from the northeast. He says there's a lot of passion, and it's important to help grow your fan base in places such as America. But it is also important to come back home, play games at St James's Park, and to give it an opportunity for fans back home to see the team. Jordan Cronin was next, asked if Longstaff was back. He went, yep, he's okay. He asked him about Garin Kual. Will he be on loan this season? He went, yes, I believe he's going out on loan this Friday. And then he asked for an update on the usual suspects, such as Fraser, Hayden and Hendrick.
And he said no further updates on either of them. So quick fire questions from Jordan, quick fire answers from Eddie. Ian Murder was next up, and he was basically saying, you know, from your perspective, you said last season that you would be looking this season to lower the age profile of the team. You know, your most influential player is Kieran Trippier in his 30s. How long can he go on? Eddie basically said age isn't a barrier. Every player's different. He's in great form. He looks motivated. He's been away with his country and been successful, so he's kept ticking over. And he more or less played every game last season, so I'm not concerned at all. Ian pushed again and just said, look, he's the most influential in the squad. Can you ever see a day when there's no Kieran Trippier in the team? And he just said, I don't want that day to come, but it will come because it comes to everybody. He's leader of the group. Crucially, he's got big game experience, which is vital. He's got great technical ability, so he's not relying on one attribute. So, you know, he couldn't give an answer on that. And like he's already said, it's not something he wants to think about. Craig Hope was next from the Daily Mail, basically saying supporters are excited to see Lewis Miley and Elliot Anderson this season, as well as seeing the likes of Tonali and Harvey Barnes. And he went, yeah, look, supporters like to see one of their own doing well, and we've got two of them. It's great to see two players coming through from the academy. They're two technical players. They've both got great attitudes, and hopefully, you know, they'll continue to do well. Craig then said, is it beyond the realms of possibility for Miley to start this season? He went, I'm reluctant to put too much pressure on him, but, you know, he will be in and around. And Eddie's already confirmed he won't be going out on loan this season. He then pushed on to Elliot and said, Elliot Anderson, he's put himself in the frame for Saturday. And he went, well, he's knocking on the door. He says, I think the loan to Bristol helped him. He's a very good player. He was a very good player when he went. He's come back a better player. He had a few niggles with injuries last year, but this pre-season, he looks a lot stronger. Lee Ryder next. He said, last night at the Amazon premiere, people seem to be on a high about Newcastle United. The people who were there, did you feel that? And he said, yeah, he said, I did. He says, and I don't want to dampen the excitement. He says, obviously, I want to grow that. He says, I want players to have an atmosphere that's conducive to success. You know, he says, we've got to keep this run and momentum going. He says, you know, we need the crowd and the team to be connected as they were last season. It's going to be a memorable season. And what he meant by that wasn't we're going to win the quadruple. It was, we've got Champions League back, you know, as well as, you know, the excitement of the Premier League, and as well as potentially chasing 2 domestic cups. So, you know, we all start with a clean sheet is more or less what he was saying there. He was then asking about Bruno. And this was interesting. Lee Ryder says, do you feel the club are fully protected against a late bid for Bruno in the window? And he went, I don't think he wants to leave. He says, we are protected with him because of his attitude. He knows he's got a huge opportunity for him this season to play at the highest level and to help the club grow. And the key factor is he feels at home at St. James's Park. And, you know, then Lee just goes, I'm fearful about it, though. He says, and, you know, ultimately, it might not be him. It could be the entourage around him, you know, his agents, his advisors, whatever. Eddie laughed. He went, well, I don't want you to be fearful, Lee, which everybody laughed at. And then he just said, look, clubs will be interested in him. Of course they will be. He's a great player, but he's very committed to Newcastle United, which is all we need to hear. Lee then said, Tino plus another, or Tino plus 2. And he went, I never mentioned Tino, but he says, ideally 2 players. So, yeah, Tino, if he came in, would be great, plus another 2 is what Eddie meant. Dom from the Newcastle World website said, do you want to strengthen up top? Get a striker in? He went, we can't in this window due to financial fair play. Although he didn't use the beloved FFP words, but that's what he was insinuating. He said, we've got 2 recognised strikers, and Anthony Gordon can also play well in that position. He proved it in the Euros. So we'll probably go with those 3 to start the season. Why is pre-season been beneficial was the next question from Dom. Has it been beneficial with regards to, and what he meant by that, how has it been beneficial with tactics and formations and playing players out of position? And you went, well, yeah, he says it's been very beneficial. We've used the friendlies in that way. We've tried players in different positions. We need players to be adaptable. We need players to be versatile, and we've played around with a few things. So we've got a clear idea of how things are going to work this season. He then mentioned Ashby's loan.
to Swansea, and he went, yeah, look, it's crucial for his development. He needs games, and he didn't say that he wasn't going to get games at Newcastle, but I think we all knew he wouldn't. And yeah, he said that's the reason. You know, it's simple. So good luck to him at Swansea. George Colgan was next. What does success look like this season? Was this question. First time that Eddie took a long pause in this press conference. And then he said, well, it's difficult to give you a clear answer. There's lots of factors we don't have control of. But what I will ask for and what I want is 100% effort, 100% commitment, 100% improvement in and out of possession. If we do all that, results will take care of themselves. So that's a great way of looking at it from Eddie, and a good question from George. Will this year be more difficult? George said. He went, yes, because we've got a target on our back. We know we need to be better in every area. He says, but I believe in the players, I believe in the squad, and I believe in our style of play. Last up was a journalist from Malta. How important for the new players to experience St James's Park? And he went, yeah, vitally important. Really excited about playing in front of the fans at St James's Park. It's always an enticement for players who are looking to move to St James's Park. There is no comparable ground in England. So there we go. That is Eddie's first press conference. Absolutely fantastic, and great to see so many people tuning into this. I'll continue it throughout the season. We will be back, as you know, tomorrow at the earlier time of 11 a.m. with the professionals. The game at St James's Park is kicking off at 3:30 UK time. No TV coverage, but I'm sure you guys will find a way of watching it who are around the world. But for now, thanks for tuning in. Take care, and I'll see you 11 o'clock in the morning with the professionals.